So let's talk about that final Smash Direct.
Colors weave into a spire of flame. Distant sparks call to a past still unnamed. Bear this torch against the cold of the night. Search your soul and reawaken the undying light.
Welcome everyone, my name is Super Mallow. If you're new to the channel, then I hope you find this enjoyable. If you are returning to the channel, then you'll probably notice that this is my first unscripted video, so I'm just gonna roll with the thoughts I'm having. I hope you guys enjoy it, and please let me know how it goes in the comments. So, most of the reaction I've seen online so far about this Direct has been negative. There were a lot of people who were super disappointed for a variety of reasons, but that's not actually how I'm feeling about it. The feeling I'm getting from this Direct is confusion. I think that this Direct did not communicate things very clearly. I think that this Direct should not have been the final Direct. I think it should have been swapped with the one that had K. Rool, the Belmonts, and Chrom and Dark Samus. And I don't think Nintendo really seized the opportunity a month before the game releases going into the holiday season to drum up the hype like they could have otherwise. So for this video, I want to go over my thoughts and do some analysis on everything that we saw in the Direct. And for the most part, I'm pretty much going to go in order of how things were revealed. But before we get into that, let's talk about the general Direct feel. For the most part, I thought that the Direct here was actually very poorly paced. There was an incredible amount of needless filler, like going over screen options and brightness settings and sound settings, language support. There was even some stuff in there about accessing help menus and stuff about accessing the tips that you see before a battle starts. All of that kind of stuff is good to know, don't get me wrong. But the Direct spent 4 or 5 minutes on it, which is roughly 10% of it just going over options and help screens. On top of that, I don't think that's the impression Nintendo wanted to leave for the final Direct, the final chance that they have to communicate to consumers before the game is released. Because of that, I really felt that this one should have been the middle Direct that we got. That way, the Direct with K. Rool and the Belmonts and so on and so forth could have really been that meaty finish that would have gotten us hyped through the roof before the game releases. Think about it. That Direct not only had more characters, and that's not even the main reason why it should have been the last one, but that Direct had a lot of gameplay essential Smash features. It went over all of the returning stages, which is how we got the 103 stage count. It went over the new Stage Morph feature. It had stuff that was tangible and solid, and stuff that was so much more important to the core gameplay of the series that that's what they should have finished off with, not the stuff that they had today. Now, we always have to start at the character roster, because that's the heart and soul of the series. We all know that, and surprisingly, I'm not bummed out by it. The cutscene to introduce Ken and Incineroar was fantastic. I feel like every time they have these CGI trailers, the quality just gets better and better as the reveals go on. The animation was beautiful, the art style was top notch, it had a little bit of humor in it, it was a clever way of introducing the two, the whole fire versus fire thing. It was incredibly on point. Now, there's going to be a lot of people who are disappointed that Ken and Incineroar are the final fighters, and I can't tell you how to feel on that because it's all personal preference, but as someone who didn't read the Mural/Grinch leak until after this Direct, I'm actually pretty satisfied with it. Yeah, I'm disappointed that my favorite character, Geno from Super Mario RPG, didn't get in, and I would have loved to see some other characters like Isaac and Skull Kid, but this roster as a whole is pretty phenomenal. If you're a follower of the Grinch leak, I feel sorry for you because that leak was very, very convincing. In fact, if I would have seen that leak before this Direct, I absolutely would have been on Team Real, knowing personally from my professional life exactly what that would have entailed to make it that believable. At the same time, I would have been cautiously optimistic because the amount of characters in the mural leak was way too high, and they were all fan favorites that I don't think it was ever plausible that we would get all of them. That being said, for fans of the characters that didn't make it, the fans of Shadow, the fans of Isaac, I do think that Nintendo did you a little bit of a disservice by waiting this long to deconfirm those characters and instead confirm them as assist trophies. If they're gonna be assist trophies, that's fine, whatever. But don't save that for the final direct a month before the game launches. I feel like Nintendo may have inadvertently given people a little bit of false hope. I don't think Nintendo intended to do that. There's definitely nothing malicious there. But I think they should have done it differently and should have revealed that information sooner so that way people could properly set their expectations. Outside of Kennen and Incineroar, we also got the announcement that Piranha Plant is also going to be a fighter, and I have very, very conflicting feelings on this. When it first was revealed, I wasn't necessarily feeling the greatest about him. And now that I've rewatched the Direct a couple of times, I've seen his trailer a couple of times, I think I've warmed up to him a little bit, but I still feel conflicted. On one hand, if he's well designed, he's fun to play with, he's actually a really cool addition. Nobody could have predicted him, he's unexpected, he's very unique, and nobody plays like him. But on the other hand, every single character right now in Smash is an actual character. Whereas Piranha Plant is just some generic enemy with hundreds of thousands of copies that isn't really significant in any way. And I think that's why I'm conflicted on him. He just feels a little bit out of place. He's not bad by any means, but it feels like someone else could be there. And I understand that he's not taking away a roster spot. I get that. That's not how that works. But it's a little perplexing to see such a generic enemy character type of deal next to all of these other iconic characters. And even the non-iconic ones, because they still have very distinct personalities and traits that makes them memorable, and I'm not entirely sure that Piranha Plant fits that. So I am warming up to him. I'm not saying no to him. I don't have really any strong feelings positively or negatively, just more questions than anything else. The good news about characters is that Nintendo did announce they're going to do DLC for at least 5 fighters, and they indicated that all of these fighters will bring new music tracks and new stages for the same price of $5.99 as they were in Smash 4. Even though I think Smash's DLC has always been a little bit pricey, the fact that we are getting a guaranteed stage and additional music tracks makes this a lot more manageable. I have a feeling that Nintendo explicitly said they hadn't even started working on any of the DLC fighters, so they could see the reaction to this video and better strategically choose who they want to be DLC fighters in the future. And just because a character is an assist trophy, I personally don't think that means they couldn't be a fighter. At this point, with so many characters, with so many quote-unquote roster rules broken, I really think it's completely fair game for anybody. I know I'll be hoping for Geno, definitely not expecting him, but I think a lot of those other fans for those other characters should still feel hopeful that their guy can still make it. Now, there is a major problem with this DLC, and that's the way it is presented. I don't mind season passes which offer a little discount in order to withhold DLC. That's fine, it saves the consumer money, and it allows the company to have a consumer that's more committed to it. But I have a real issue that Nintendo said, hey, we probably shouldn't be offering you this now, but buy it anyways and just trust us on the DLC. I really feel strongly that if any other company did this outside of Nintendo, they would be getting slammed. And for it, I think Nintendo deserves to get slammed as well. They know that Smash has a lot of intrinsic value to people. People get emotional about it, they get attached to it. Smash has meaning for so many people. Because of that, this fighter pass that they're offering feels a little exploitative. They know that most people are going to buy it anyways because most people will want to complete their roster with all of the DLC characters, But to not give us any sort of hint to who they are, show at least one or two of them off, and to say trust us, I really, really think Nintendo missed the mark on that. And I know I personally will not be getting the Fighter Pass, even though I will most likely be buying all the DLC fighters. I would rather pay the extra $1 per fighter that it averages out to be to know what I'm getting, because even though I feel like I can probably trust Nintendo on this, I'm not going to give any game developer my money without knowing exactly what I'm getting. I don't think that's fair to the consumer. I don't think it's very consumer friendly. And this is something that I think Nintendo should really rethink when they go forward, both with Smash and any other series where this could potentially apply to. And then there's the Spirits mode, and this is where the majority of my confusion comes from. So, I don't know now, even after Googling it, after asking people about it, after checking the website, after rewatching the trailer again, I don't know if the Spirits mode is an adventure mode or if it's just an amped up version of the event challenges that have been in Smash before. So when they originally went over it, which by the way, they spent like 10 minutes on this mode, so clearly it's supposed to be very important, it was just kind of a jumbled mess. When I was initially watching it, the only vibe I got from the Spirits mode is, these are event challenges. They're themed around character-specific traits, whether it's the character's size, or their color, or their abilities, or the universe they come from. And they kept showing off theme battle after theme battle after theme battle. And that's fine if it's a souped up events mode. That's great because the events mode in the last couple of games have gotten kind of stale. But then they made it utterly confusing and I'm still lost. So spirits are essentially the equivalent of stickers in Brawl. They augment characters' abilities. You can have plus attack, plus speed, plus defense. I don't know if there are any other perks like starting with a home run bat or having invincibility or being able to absorb energy projectiles like you would find in Smash 4's Smash Run or in some other sort of custom equipment mode that was in Smash 4. The problem is the presentation of this is baffling and confusing. You have primary spirits who have the most impact on your fighter, but some of them have spots for support spirits and some of them don't have spots for support spirits, and they can have up to 3 it looks like. Who knows if they have more. And then each spirit has its own class, which is like novice, advanced, and legend, and it's not clear what makes one spirit a novice, what makes one spirit a legend, how much those differ in terms of ability and what they provide you. If you can have a support spirit as your main spirit, can those then have support spirits for themselves? All of that kind of stuff was not explained very well. On top of that, it even gets more confusing because primary spirits can gain experience and nobody knows how that improves them. And you can gain experience, it looks like, by battling or by feeding them snacks, which how do you get snacks? I'm assuming by battling, but who really truly knows, and who knows how viable that actually is. There's a Fire Emblem-esque weapon triangle where attack beats grab and grab beats shield, and each spirit has one of these elements that you're either strong to or you're weak to, and then when you add all of the spirits' numbers up, it gives you a team power, which then affects all of the battles that you fight and affects the rewards you get. It's just overwhelming. There was so much information in that 10-minute segment, and it didn't feel like it meant anything by the end of it. It feels like exploring the mode on my own would probably be a better way to do it than by having someone explain it to me. And that's not a very comforting feeling that I get after watching the Direct. At the very, very end of the Direct, Nintendo looped back around, commented on the Spirits mode, called it an adventure mode weirdly enough, and then showed off one of the most incredible animated CGI trailers I've ever seen. That trailer where all the characters are on the cliffs over the sea, which by the way looked like Brawl's subspace area, that trailer was incredible. From the animation to what actually happened in the video to that awesome vocal rendition of the main Smash Ultimate theme, which, by the way, whoever that singer was, she absolutely killed it. I'm going to have this song stuck in my head for weeks now. She was great. I hope Nintendo works with her more often and gives her some more vocal songs. But that's besides the point. That CGI cutscene was amazing. Now, the problem is that Sakurai said this is not Subspace Emissary 2, which again is okay because Subspace took a lot of development resources. Most players will probably only play it once or twice. I understand why they're not going to go that route. After that scene, they showed Kirby going across a whole bunch of world maps. And real quick note, of course Kirby was going to survive that. He's got the plot armor. He's Sakurai's baby. We all knew what was going to happen, but it was still epic nonetheless. Where's Kirby Air Ride 2? We keep seeing him in these Smash trailers riding on the star. Think back to the Rosalina trailer for Smash 4. I digress. He was on all these world maps, but again, he was doing themed event challenges. And so it's unclear, are we going to get challenges and cutscenes? Are we just going to get an opening cutscene, all of the challenges, and then an ending cutscene? Like, how is that going to work? And again, this is where my confusion is. They didn't really explain it. With that said, it's really hard to judge this mode because having an awesome event challenge mode is great no matter how they do it. That's always a fun mode and it's awesome to go through. But if that's what it is and it takes place on a world map and all of that kind of stuff, that's fine. But if that's what it is, then there's still no real adventure mode. And even though we don't need Subspace 2, this is the crossover to end all crossovers. To not have some sort of adventure mode that takes place in these game worlds, whether it's just a handful of levels or even something that is constantly repeated, like the adventure mode in Melee, to not have that just screams missed opportunity. And I was kind of bummed that that wasn't confirmed. Now, maybe I'm entitled, maybe my expectations are too high, all of that is possible, but I do think it's a missed opportunity if that's not what the Spirits mode is. I really wish they would have explained this better. I really hope that when the game launches, the system is easy to understand, because quite honestly, I'm getting a lot of Smash Tour vibes from this. When Smash Tour was announced during the 50 Fact Extravaganza, everybody was excited for it. And then when we got the game and played Smash Tour, nobody ever wanted to touch it again after the first or second time. And it wasn't even because the concept was bad, it was because it was overwhelming and because it was confusing. You have multiple people rolling on the board at the same time. They can run into each other. There are events happening on the board, 4 players at a time. You're collecting fighters, you're collecting stats. Every turn ends with something. The concept wasn't bad. The execution and confusion were horrible. And I'm getting those kind of vibes from all of this custom equipment level to primary spirits having levels and classes and working with others, secondary support spirits, and all of that kind of stuff. I'll put my faith in Sakurai and Nintendo for this one, but we need to see how this mode is going to work before we can really make a judgment call on it. I just don't think that the Direct did a good job communicating it, and it didn't necessarily make me feel excited for the mode. Spirits mode is also supposed to be the replacement for trophies, and that's okay because, to be honest with you guys, I stopped caring about trophies after Melee because there was just so many of them, but a lot of fans are going to miss that as one of the series' staple. And if Spirits is going to replace it, this mode needs to be really, really solid to make sure players are invested in it. So with the questions that we've kind of already gone over, I think it's fair for some players to have pause on this mode. On top of that, which kind of made it a little bit worse in my opinion, but overall still wasn't bad, was that Nintendo didn't really talk about other game modes. They did touch on a couple of things like 100-Man Smash, which is now called Century Smash, and they did talk about the challenges, but they didn't talk about the Classic mode, they didn't talk about All-Star mode, no mention of Home Run Contest. It doesn't look like Break the Targets or Board the Platforms are coming back. And I mean, again, that's okay. I would love to see those there, but we got no new info on any of this, including a lot of the series staples. They did touch on Classic and All-Star back in the Direct with K. Rool, but still, this is a month before launch. I think we would have liked to see more examples of it or get a little bit more information on it, because the Classic mode and All-Star mode in Smash 4 was really repetitive and wasn't very well designed, and we would love to know if they've made some better choices for Ultimate and going forward. They also showed the online shop, and I don't really know how I feel about that, because I like the idea of being able to buy specific songs that you really want or other things that you really want, but they didn't go over a lot of ways to make in-game currency, so nobody knows how tedious this is going to be, and so it's a little bit questionable still how this is going to work. I don't think it's a good thing. I don't think it's a bad thing. Don't get me wrong, I don't have any strong opinions on it yet, but it is a question that, again, Nintendo didn't really answer in this Direct. Now, there was one issue that I had with the game and the Direct, and that's when they covered the online play. And this is classic Nintendo being Nintendo, where they take 2 steps forward and 20 steps backward. So, a couple of things. In Smash 4, you had the For Fun lobby and you had the For Glory lobby. The For Fun lobby was all stages, items timed, the way that the developers want the game to be played. It's essentially the party mode. For Glory is where you had a competitive environment. You had no items, you only had one stage, and it was stock based. I understand that both of those modes, the way they were constructed, was not ideal. For casual players, they still might want to have items on, but might want stocks. For competitive players, they might want more stocks, or they might want another stage outside of Final Destination. All fair complaints. However, Nintendo completely missed the mark here when they decided to combine both of those lobbies and only have one. The way the new system works is that there is one queue, and each player can set their own rule preferences, and the game will try to match you with another player that has similar preferences. That sounds fine, and if it works exactly as described, I have no complaints. However, during the Direct, a couple of things really jeopardized this. During the Direct, Nintendo said that proximity trumps all other factors. So if there is nobody close to you who's available for a match with the same preferences, you will get matched with someone that has different playstyle preferences. It is completely unacceptable that Nintendo or any other game developer would leave it to chance when you're trying to find a lobby for your preferred rule set when playing online multiplayer. I have never seen this in any other online multiplayer game, and if it does exist, it's probably not on a major one, because I don't think any other developer would make this decision. I have no idea how someone who works at Nintendo not only okayed this idea, but championed it to be in the final product. This hurts competitive players, and it also hurts casual players. If you're a casual player and you don't want to play stocks or you want to play items, whatever stages, whatever mode, timed, whatever, you might end up going against someone who is a very serious player who crushes you online because you couldn't find other players with your preferred rule set. Same thing goes with competitive players. You might want to play a certain way, and because you are getting someone matched with items or on certain stages that you don't deem acceptable, you're no longer able to really practice, you're not able to hone your skills. It's essentially a waste of time. I understand Nintendo wanting to provide some variety, and I think that in and of itself is awesome. And I think the loud vocal minority, which includes myself, of competitive smashers, sometimes we can give the game a little bit of a different perception that Nintendo doesn't necessarily want. Let me be very clear, I don't think it's a bad perception, I just think it's not one that matches with the perception they're trying to create when they promote the Smash Bros. Brand. But it should never be left up to chance, it should be players' choices, for both casuals and competitives alike. It does no group any good to leave it up to chance, and I don't understand how Sakurai and his team made an online environment worse than Smash 4. especially because if you go dust off your old Wii U and go into Smash 4's online, there are still plenty of players in both the For Fun and For Glory lobby, so it's not like finding matches would be difficult. That's my thoughts on that. I hate it. I think a lot of other people hate it. I don't see who it benefits. I think Nintendo made a real mistake here, and I think it will hurt Smash Ultimate in the long run. Yeah, there's always a chance it gets patched out or a new system gets implemented to replace it. I don't see that happening, but who knows? We'll see how the game goes. The one good thing I did like about it is that for players who reach a certain global Smash power, which, by the way, quick rant on global Smash power, it's a terrible ranking system because it provides no context for how you actually stack up against other players. It's confusing. There's global Smash power for your specific character. There's global Smash power for your overall ranking. It's unclear how the game matches these up or how they consolidate them. It doesn't really make much sense, and it's not very helpful. It's complex and complicated. I can't believe they're still using it, but regardless, if you reach a high enough global Smash power, you are eligible for Elite Battles, and this is the one thing that is really, really good. Elite Battles, they said, will be used to help balance the game. Presumably, only the best players, which mainly means the competitive crowd, no offense to casuals, they're going to be able to influence the game balance directly, and that's never really been a thing in previous Smash titles, so for the people who it's most important to, they're going to get some say in the matter, and I think that's great. Outside of that, can we talk about how Nintendo is still trying to push the stupid phone app? Like, come on, Nintendo, you're better than this. Stop it. Nobody wants to use it. You gotta accept that. But of course we know they won't. They forced it here with Smash again, and that's also really, really disappointing. So, where does that leave us on the overall feeling of the Direct? Yeah, that last part about the online play is negative, but I'm actually feeling pretty good about the roster. DLC is going to give some great opportunities for new characters. I just don't understand how Nintendo let this be the final Direct. Seriously, whoever is the director of their international marketing made a huge mistake here, because this should have been the Direct that we got several months ago, and the Simon, Richter, K. Rool, etc. Direct should have been in its place right now. I don't understand how they made that decision. I don't know how they thought that was a good idea, because ultimately this Direct was a low point, and it's okay, not everything's going to be a high point, but it's a low point to cap off what might have been the most hype cycle I've ever seen for any game, including Smash 4 and including Brawl, because a lot of people forget how much hype surrounded Brawl. I actually think Smash Ultimate's hype cycle exceeded it, and to end it this way, that's a bummer. It's something that Nintendo should have had the foresight to understand because of the reaction that they had gotten from the initial reveal and the E3 trailer. This decision to make this one the final Direct baffles me. It seems like with Smash Ultimate, Nintendo was, quite honestly, a little bipolar, if that makes sense, and I don't necessarily mean that in a bad way, but if you look at all of the incredible things they've given us, the first couple of characters they revealed, all of the UI improvements we've seen, all of the customizability options such as stage hazard toggle off, the squad strike mode, the smashdown mode, the saving rule sets, the selecting the stages before the character, all of those improvements are incredible quality of life stuff. But then they turn it around and they make the online worse than the Wii U and kick it back straight to 2005, and you're left wondering, how is this a thing? And then you take the big new mode, the Spirits mode, and you don't even communicate it in a way that makes sense to the majority of consumers. Seriously, please feel free to explain to me everything in Spirits mode in the comments, because I would love to be educated on that. But think about your average Smash fan, your average casual Nintendo fan that sat down, watched this Direct. I mean, what are they supposed to take out of it? It doesn't make any sense. So it was just overall a confusing Direct. I feel pretty neutral on it. It definitely wasn't the best. It also definitely wasn't the worst. I do think of the Smash Ultimate Direct specifically, yes, this is the weakest one, but of course there always has to be a weakest one, right? There's always going to be one that's better than the other. So as a whole, even though this video is sounding a little bit negative to finish off with it, I think the roster is great. I'm super excited for the game. I know I'm already taking December 7th off, the 10th, the 11th. I'm going to be playing it all night. Me and my brother are going to go through everything. We're going to unlock everything. We're going to go online right away, test our skills. We're going to be playing this game for years. And Nintendo knows that. I think everybody watching this video knows that. Everybody in the community knows that this didn't change anybody's mind about anything. I just wish it could have been a stronger finish to really cap off that hype cycle. So those are my thoughts on the Direct. Please let me know what you think in the comments. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing and liking this video. You guys can also find me on Twitter. My Twitter handle is super_mallow. It's always linked in the description. Real quick note, even though the roster is known at this point, I'm still continuing the designing for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate series. If you're unfamiliar with what that is, it is a series where we take concepts and ideas for potential newcomers into Ultimate. Since there is still DLC, I think there is a need for that series, so I am still working on it. A little sneak peek, the next episode will be on Banjo and Kazooie. You guys requested them more than any other character in the comments, and I wanted to make sure I gave everybody their fan favorite. So that should be up in a couple of weeks, and until then, we will see you next time.
Colors weave into a spire of flame. Distant sparks call to a past still unnamed. Bear this torch against the cold of the night. Search your soul.